how do you think that this hurts men if society doesn't know how to deal with individuals when it comes down to mental health? And obviously in this case, men in general have more masculine than feminine, right? That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
So how does that hurt men, and how do men normally react to therapy that's in general more catered to the feminine?
Well, how it's been hurting men is the male suicide crisis, male loneliness epidemic. Males tend to have fewer friends. Males tend to,
Yeah.
kill themselves more often. And when treated as though they are women, it would essentially be like treating masculine energy with feminine energy. It's just, it's complementary, but it's not necessarily consistent. And so, what that could do, which is a pretty grave thing to think about, is that it could force the men to think that something more is wrong with them. I'm going to therapy and I'm receiving a therapy that is catered toward feminine energy, but I'm bringing a masculine energy here. But therapy for 3 months, 3 years, it just hasn't been working. Maybe something is really wrong with me. Maybe I am
Mm,
unfixable. And and all that dominoes over into feelings of not feeling good enough, learned helplessness, and I'm not even going to bother trying. So it's kind of like treating, depression with an anxiety medication. Like it's just
mm.
not gonna, you're just gonna think that your depression is uncurable, and that's what happens when, the treatment doesn't match the energy that's being brought.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important because like obviously if it's not working, especially after you've put in, hard work and effort to try and get better, that can like kill your belief and kill the confidence, which eventually leads to losing hope, which is a really dangerous place to be in. And obviously as we can see, like male suicide rates have gone up dramatically because of that, right?
Yeah.
Now, how does this also hurt like society in the long run? Because you also talk about like male disengagement,
Yeah.
right? Which people don't really talk about that much, right? So can you talk about how not understanding the inner workings of the male will hurt society in the long run?
Male seclusion in heteronormative environments will also hurt society because, men and women need each other, maybe not marriage and kids and stuff, but we,
Hmm.
we all rely on each other. Men can't survive without women and women can't survive without men. And so if men are leaving the table, then that part of the meal is now gone. And that absence is being felt right now because, while we talk about the male loneliness epidemic, there are also many articles about the female loneliness epidemic that relates directly to each other. Is that if men are leaving the table and women are there, then what's going on? Like they feel like they're not good enough. So when men feel like they're not good enough and so they leave, women are sitting there with no one to talk to across from them. They feel like now they're not good enough too. We just have all parties who feel like completely, left behind by society, when in reality no one's winning.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's kind of more about like relationships and friendships and so on and so forth, right? Which is, it's pretty sad to see sometimes like the slow divide that takes place in that arena. Now how does that hurt like um a for example a country's ability to build itself and develop? Because historically, men are, you know most often the ones that are building society with like a hands-on approach, right? So how does it hurt the idea of building society if we take away the man out of the man?
Oh, it's a grave detriment to society. Even to this day, men are the primary plumbers, electricians, construction workers. And as they leave, and I don't mean leave necessarily by suicide, but that is one of the things. But like males disconnecting and just choosing to live in their parents' basement playing video games until the age of 50, 60, however long they'll let them live.
Yeah,
That's
that's
one less construction worker. That's one less electrician. That's one less plumber. And that compounds into a society that is in grave need of continuing to evolve. And so when men check out, society as a whole suffers because now it's not able to make the progress that we once did in the past.
yeah, exactly. And then obviously, historically like men normally take pride in taking action and like building their cities or towns or countries, and if we move away from taking that action oriented approach, we're going to end up in a place that we've never really seen before. Like we've never dealt with that as human beings, right? So again, something we have to definitely keep in mind.